It's time to take a look at wing missions because it turns out they can be quite profitable. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous with Down to Earth Astronomy. Ever since pretty much day one of the beta, there's been people in the community around the channel who's been researching into wing missions, the new type of missions that's been added into the game with the latest patch. And it turns out that these kind of missions are actually quite profitable, and it's taken some time to find a good way to utilize this, but that's what I'm going to show you today. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Emsilos from the community, who's pretty much been orchestrating this whole research. And I should also say that this method is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to divide the video up into 3 parts. The first part, we're going to look at the ships, pretty standard. Then I'm going to show you the base method, what you need to do on your end, and then we're going to have a look at how you can upscale your credits per hour with, I think, almost a factor of 10. But that's going to be at the end of the video, so stick around for that, because you're going to make a lot more money if you stick around. So, first of all, let's have a look at the ships. So this is all about trade and gathering of materials. So what we'll need is 2 things. We'll need a ship with as much cargo and as much jump range as you can possibly get. I've got my trade cutter out. You could use other ships, you don't have to use the cutter. An Anaconda would work well. Type 9 is also good. Smaller ships could work well, but again, when the trade mission, the bigger the ship is, the more cargo you can have, the more payout you're gonna get. In terms of layout, it's pretty much, I mean, don't go into too much detail. I recommend a shield generator just to take the small bumps and scratches you might get. Otherwise, just get as much cargo as you possibly can. And when it comes to internal, make sure you get a good frameshift drive, maybe even engineered. Other than that, try to lightweight as much as you can. I lightweight the thrusters, probably shouldn't have done that because the cutter drifts like, yeah, you know. Anyway, anyway, just get it light, get some jump range, and get as much cargo as you possibly can. So next we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the base method. This is just the basics that you need to understand before we can move on to the profitable part of this. And this all revolves around source and return missions, source and return wing missions of high value items. So for instance, the missions icon you're looking for is this: 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions with a small wing symbol here. So let's see if we can find a normal one. Okay, there's no one here, they're all wing missions. So that's the first thing, you need to look at the right type of symbol. Next, you need to look at the material that you are asked to source. And again, I recommend that you find, as these are available in many places, and I recommend that you go out and try to find a location where there's not as many other people, because if everybody's looking for the same material in a specific area, the stations around it is pretty much going to be dried out of that material pretty soon. So, and that's of course going to mean you're going to have a diminishing return on your payout. So if you want to keep your payout high, find some place where there's maybe not that many other people, but not completely empty. But I'll get back to other people later at the end of the video. But the material you're looking for is something high value. You can see I already have a mission here for palladium. Palladium is a good material. You can go for isolating membranes. They can in some areas be a little difficult to find on the market. Palladium is a little easier. Imperial slaves is also a good choice. There's many materials as long as it's a high paying material. So you're going to look at the material, and for instance, I decided I just want to go for palladium. So I'm just going to scroll through the mission board, and I'm going to see if I can find any source and return missions for palladium. Now, I'm not sure if this board has any at all, but it doesn't matter. You will find one eventually, and again, it's going to make it easier if you are allied, so try to do that to start with, but it's not a requirement that you are allied. I don't think there's any in this board, but I've cheated a little, and I've got a mission beforehand from this station. And you can see I've already started and collected a little bit of material for this mission. And all you now have to do is to figure out where you can then get your materials. And in order to find the materials, you can either use the in-game galaxy map, which is recently updated with more trade information. I'm not 100% sure how much information you can pull out of it. I still prefer to go to third-party tools like eddb.io. There's plenty of other options out there, but in my case, I would go in here and I would look for Palladium, and I would type in my system. So in my case, I am in HR1064, like that. And I want only large landing pads. So let's try to see if we can find that. And then I would often try to sort this by supplies. We can see what's available, or go through the list and see if I can find anything that looks interesting. Price is not that important when you're looking for a good system, and I'll explain that. We're going to do the whole math of all this later on, and you will see that the price that you're paying is actually not that important. What is more important is that you find a system that has a good supply, and the range is very important because that's what takes your time. That's jumping. So if you're going to go for one 50 light years out, it's going to take me some time, rather if I go for one just 20 out. So yeah, so I'm just going to find a system that that has the material need, and I mean, these sites will always be a little outdated, so you might have to do a little bit of trial and error here, but find a system and let's get out. Once you're at your target location where you want to pick up, let's just go in, let's find the material we're looking for. Let's see, Palladium right there, and I'm just going to fill up the ship. The station is almost out, I can see, but we should have enough to make a full cargo hold. So, whoa. Nope, come on. There we go. Full cargo hold, and now all we have to do is just to get back. Once we're back at the station, we are gonna go and open up the, not commodity market, the mission board. And we're going to find our mission, and we're gonna hand in the cargo that we have just collected. So we're gonna go here and hand in all the cargo. It's not gonna be enough to complete the mission, but that's okay. We'll just go out and we'll get more. But before you do that, here's a very neat little trick. Because a trip like this takes between, I think the fastest I've ever done it is around 11 or 12 minutes for a trip out and trip back. Sometimes up to 15 minutes, it depends a little. But that means that most of the time the mission board will have refreshed when you come back. So I will always go and then have a look through the mission board again once I'm back, just to see if there's any new missions that fit the requirements. So if I'm looking for Palladium missions, I'll see if there's any more Palladium. It doesn't seem like it. But in general, I've been able to, when I've been testing this, I've been able to keep myself stocked up on missions. Because sometimes, of course, there will not be anything. But most of the time you will find a new mission before your current mission runs out. So this one is for 2,000 tons. So before I was able to complete this mission, I would most likely have found another mission if I've been looking at the mission board every single time, which I haven't. That means there's actually no real need to be board hopping. And I mean, if you end up in a situation where you run out of missions completely, then you will have to resort to board hopping. But in general, you don't really have to do it, because you'll just check the mission board every time you're back to see if the new mission has arrived. But anyway, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna complete this mission here in a little bit. But while I do that, let's have a quick look at the math, just to see where we are at in terms of money making potential. So my cutter has a total cargo hold of 728 tons. So that means I can take those 728 tons per trip. And if I shoot high and let's say 15 minutes per trip, that's 4 trips an hour. That gives me a total of 2,912 tons each hour that I can collect. If you then go, I've taken quite a few of these missions, and every time I've calculated how much money you would get when you complete the mission per ton of cargo you deliver. And it's right around 20,000 credits per ton. I think the average was something like 19,900 and something. So it was very, very close to those 20,000 credits per ton. That means that from mission payouts, I'm gonna get 58,240,000 credits per hour. But I have, of course, spent some time or some money actually purchasing this good. So let's see how much credit I actually make per ton. So if we take the 20,000 credit payout from the mission and we subtract the prices, these were the prices I was able to buy palladium at on some of my trial runs. It's actually slightly higher than the galactic average, so you would probably be able to find it a little cheaper. But as I said earlier on, it's not really important if you get it extremely cheap, because that's not gonna vary too much in terms of your money making potential. But again, I'll come back to all that later. That means that I will actually end up with a net profit of just over 6,500 credits per ton. So plug that in the previous equation. So we take out the tons per hour, we multiply it by the profit per ton, and we end up with just shy of 19 million per hour, which in itself isn't too good. I mean, there's definitely been other methods and many other methods where you can do this in a similar fashion. But this is where the upscaling come in. So once you have collected all your materials, don't hand in the mission just yet, because what we're going to do now is we're going to wing up, and I've already winged up with Emsilos, and what we can do now is we can go ahead and share the missions. So Emsilos, if you would go ahead and share your mission. So we can see now I get an invite to a mission, so I'm going to go ahead and accept that, and we can then go in and look at the mission here. We can see Emsilos has actually already completed it. He's already collected, in this case it was for gold. And we can see that this mission will pay just shy of 10 million. I currently have, let's go ahead and see, 3,664,000,000. So, Emsilos, you can go ahead and complete the mission. And I get a small inbox message saying that this mission is now complete. So I can now open up the mission board. And here is the mission, and I can now go in, and you can see here I can select the reward, and I'm actually going to get paid the full amount. So select that, and I get the 10 million credits. I can now do the same thing with my mission. I'm going to share it with the wing. I'm gonna wait for Emsilos to accept it, and I can see in here who is currently accepted the mission. Ah, there we go. And now that Emsilos has accepted the mission, I can go back into the mission board. And I'll select my reward, 41 million credits. And Emsilos will now, just as I did, get a message, and he can also collect the reward. So if you do this in a wing, and you just make sure that the missions are shared before you hand them in, before you select your reward, everybody in the wing is going to get paid the full amount for the mission. So as you can see, doing this in a wing can massively upscale the amount of credit you can make every hour. And if you're looking for a wing, I have already set up a looking for wing chat on my community Discord server. There's a link for that in the description below the video. You can go over there and you can then go into that chat if you want to find people to do this with. And I've also set up plenty of voice chats, voice channels, so you can go on voice if you want to coordinate your efforts when you're running these missions. So if you're looking for someone to play with and to do these kind of missions with, jump over to the Discord and you can find someone over there. But we're going to look at the math here in a little bit, but I just want to attach a very few comments to this. And that is, can it be right that the mission are paying out the full amount to everybody in the wing? Well, if you compare the payout per ton of the wing missions to the payout per ton of the normal search and return missions, that's not in a winged version, you will then see that the normal versions are paying 50% more per ton than the wing version of the missions is. So Frontier has already downscaled the payouts of the missions. And I think that's because they were actually intended that they should be paid the full amount. You could then discuss if it was balanced correctly. That's a whole other discussion that I'm not going to go into. But I'm pretty sure that it was intended that you're going to get the full amount. Because if you were getting a percentage of how much you actually delivered, there would be no reason to do them in a wing at all. Because you wouldn't gain any benefits from it. You will get a reduced payout. It would actually be more profitable for you to just stack the non-winged version and do those, because they would give you more credit per ton. So I think it's intentional to try and encourage people to fly in wings and to add a bit more of a multiplayer aspect to the game. And an additional nice feature is that this method doesn't necessarily require board hopping. You can board hop if you like it, but there's no reason that you should, since you should be able to keep yourself stocked up on missions just by checking the mission board every time you return to the station. But let's go ahead and let's have a look at the math. This is where we were before. We ended up at just shy of the 19 million credits per hour. But now, of course, we are going to get paid from the other people's missions as well. But from their missions, we are not going to get, we're not going to pay for the material that they hand in, because they will, of course, do that. Only one person actually pay for the materials. So in that case, we will actually get the full 20,000 credits per ton. That means that you're going to get 3 times those 58 million credits per hour, plus your own 19 million credits per hour. And as you can see here, that puts us at just under 194 million credits every hour. And this is also where you can see my point with that. It's not important exactly what price you get it at. Because if I was able to save, let's say I was able to save 1,000 credits on my Palladium when I was buying it, that would yield me another almost 3 million credits. So that means that instead of looking at 194, I would then look at 197 million. And there's going to be variances anyway, depending on how quickly you can actually do it. So again, the price of the Palladium is not really important here. The most important part is that you do it in a wing of 4 people. And of course, this example is built up of a wing of 4 cutters, all running efficiently. So depending on your wing and the experience of the pilots, this might vary for you. Okay, but I really hope you found this video useful. If you did, give it a like down below. And remember to come over on Discord and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I'll see you guys in space.